Be strong and get healthy. Stretch. Feel great about yourself and have some fun. It's time for you. Fitness is the key to your future. Don't get locked out. Take the challenge. Commit to be fit. Thanks for joining me today on Commit to be Fit. I'm Susie Smith, and I have a special repeat guest here today. His name is Paul Tripoli. He's a licensed clinical social worker, a drug and alcohol addiction counselor, all-around fitness person. So I'd like to introduce to you again my friend Paul Tripoli. Hi, Paul.
Susie, thanks again for having me here.
Oh, I'm so glad you're here today. This is an interesting subject we're going to talk about today.
Well, it's a subject that's near and dear to my heart, fitness, and also working in the addictions field. It's near and dear to my heart, and so I'm looking at talking about today how those two go together.
So are you saying that exercise can help with addictions?
Exercise can certainly help with addiction. I want to go back into a little bit of my background and my enthusiasm for exercise. I've enjoyed exercising for many years. As you know, that's where we met a long time ago. And
D'Amico's.
I won't tell where or how long ago, but yeah, it was D'Amico's in Canonsburg.
And that's not even there anymore.
Oh, that's a shame.
Yeah, I know. It was such a nice place.
Very well equipped, maintained. And back in those days, actually, I was working in Washington, D.C., and so I would come back to the home area, which is Washington, PA for me, and I would go to D'Amico's and work out because they had really good equipment. And so that was part of my weekends back up here in Washington, PA. And even though I maintained memberships at health clubs there in the D.C. area, there was just always something special about coming home and working out.
Oh, yeah, and I remember that day I met you in the gym. We were, banging the weights, and it was a while ago, and a lot of heavy lifting and a lot of noise in the gym, and we really enjoyed that.
That's the way gyms should be, I think, hardcore.
Yeah.
The reason that I would work out, though, what I found is that I felt so much better, of course, working out, and that was such a lifesaver for me, really, because in those days, certainly back in the Washington, D.C. days, it was very stressful. I had a very stressful job. That was a stressful time. I was a young man trying to find myself, and the consistency in my life really was the workouts. I was not married at the time, and so I had time that I didn't need to devote to the relationship. So I devoted a lot of time to myself in building my body and working in the exercise business for a while. I was also a trainer.
And you also competed in bodybuilding. I remember that.
I sure did. When I came back to this area, actually, I started to compete. And I was newly married at the time and kids on the way. So in addition to the responsibilities of kids and wife and job, I made sure to have time to work out. But that often meant 5 in the morning workouts.
Oh, I've been there. Yeah.
Well, when you're committed to it, then those workouts just become a part of your life.
And it's such a good feeling. I have problems if I don't work out. As far as like mental depression and that sort of thing, I start to feel down, and then I can work out within 15 minutes. I'm feeling great.
That's such a key point, because when we work out, we know there's the release of endorphins. So when we think about how the brain works off of electricity and chemistry. We have in our brain neurotransmitters, including a substance called serotonin and dopamine. And in my field of working with people with addiction, because of the drugs that they took or the alcohol that they drank, that really had depleted a lot of the dopamine stores and the serotonin stores in their brain. And the brain's not manufacturing these key ingredients, these key neurotransmitters. And so lacking those, you see a person's affect as really dull, really down, don't seem to have that spark or zest for life. And part of the recovery process as well, it does have with it the negative effects of depression and anxiety, because after a person is in recovery, they feel good initially that they finally were able to stop the addiction, but then with those dopamine stores and serotonin stores depleted, the person often falls into depression.
But exercise kicks up those chemicals that are the neurotransmitters. Those are chemicals that send messages?
They are. The chemicals in the brain then that get released with exercise we know are endorphins, and there's others that they're finding as we keep on going through and research keeps moving forward. I've read some research that involved lab animals, and I don't want us to feel like we're lab rats here, but in some of the research that they did when they withdrew alcohol or drugs from lab animals, that there was a certain leveling off of the brain chemistry. But when they introduced exercise, there was actually repair to the brain. And then a euphoric feeling was noted, if you can calculate or gauge euphoria in a lab animal. But we know certainly with adults, with humans, I should say, that when given programs of exercise and even moderate amounts of exercise, that people reported feeling much better, their energy was higher, and that they didn't feel a need to have drugs anymore or alcohol. There was a study that was done where they took heavy marijuana users, and I mean heavy, and these were folks that were quite dependent on marijuana, and they were listed as chronic smokers. And these were people that had no desire to stop smoking marijuana, but they had these folks work out in a 3-time per week cardiovascular workouts, and those people reported that they felt less of a need to smoke, and they had actually cut their marijuana intake by 50%.
Wow.
And these were people that had really no desire to stop smoking.
Well, I tell you, when I think, you know, when I started working out, that's exactly what happened, because I quit smoking cigarettes, and the very next day I started lifting weights because I knew I had to do something. So anytime I felt like having a cigarette, which is a real hardcore addiction.
Yes, it is.
I would either go for a brisk walk or I would lift some weights, and that would go away. That feeling, you know, that I wanted to have a cigarette would go away for an hour, maybe 2 hours, which, you know, that's how it started, and I was able to quit 32 years ago. But like you said, the euphoria and just the feeling of well-being from exercise, I just wish I could just show that to everybody in the world and they could have that. If you have exercise, no matter what happens in your life, you have that to rely on. You know, if you have built a regular exercise routine that you follow.
Well, I think that is the key, is to be able to build that routine. But if you look at habits that we all have, and we all have many of them, from getting up at a certain time in the morning to drinking coffee in the morning, I like to take habits that are already established and then pair something up with them. For example, I'm a coffee drinker. Every morning I have coffee. So I wanted to begin a regimen of vitamins, and when I put the vitamins out by the coffee, I already had an established habit, coffee drinking, and now I put the vitamins right by the coffee.
Oh, that's a great idea.
And so people think that in order to get into exercise that you have to stop what you're doing, join a gym, go for 2 hours at a time. And a lot of people actually don't want to go to the gym because they feel like they're not in good enough shape.
Oh, I hear that all the time. You know, I can't go to the gym because I'm overweight, or I'm weak. You know, I don't want to be embarrassed. Or people have all of these issues about their bodies. And, you know, I think especially women, you know, with the exercise, I think if tomorrow morning every woman in the world just woke up and said, I'm okay with who I am. You know, I'm okay. I can work on myself and not try to be someone else. There would be so many businesses that would close down because women are bombarded. You know, we have to wear false eyelashes. We have to have a tiny waist. You know, we have to have extensions in our hair. You know, we have to have everything. Tons of makeup, and it's a lot of pressure.
I used to laugh, though, when we were in the gym because the guys would trade some of their beauty tips, and we were talking in the bathroom.
You guys
one
have
time
beauty tips?
Oh, sure.
Oh, okay, I want to hear this.
From different facial scrubs to techniques where the bodybuilders, of course, shave their body hair
Oh,
off.
yeah.
So shaving tips and what balms are better on the body and help prevent the razor bumps and things like that. So we used to have our beauty tips too, but certainly as men, we are nowhere near as inundated as women are to be the body beautiful. Your point about if women could just begin to think more positively of themselves, and men, that we would really have a lot of the issues really curtailed, because you can transform the body all you want, but if you don't think very well of yourself, you're still going to look in the mirror and say, okay, I'm thinner now, but I'm still negative statement, negative statement, negative statement. And so we really need to be okay with who we are first, and then you can do a lot more with how you appear. Big difference. Who, W-H-O, how, H-O-W. And that knocks me out. Same three letters, entirely different subject matter.
Good point, yeah.
So who we are is our creation, our essence, our truth. How we are is what we've been socialized to become, some of that through family upbringing, through society, through messages that we picked up through friends or other peer groups. But who we really are is where we need to get back to. And so start to love yourself for who you are, and then you can do a lot more with how you appear. So let's take one of those early habits. So brushing our teeth. I hope most people have that habit.
Well, I'm hoping.
So as people stand at the sink brushing their teeth, if they just started to do calf raises, just started to move, in just those little bits of movement, they would start to feel better. And the empowerment that it gives, and I think again to women, that sense of empowerment, that I'm moving, I'm not just brushing my teeth, but I'm purposefully standing on my toes, and I might get those shapely calves.
You know, that's such a good point, because I multitask a lot with my workouts. I used to be, as you know, a gym rat. I was in there 2-3 hours a day. And because I was working toward a goal, you know, and it did take a lot of time when you competed in different sports and that. But now I find, like you say, brushing teeth with, you know, doing calf raises, that's excellent, because I'll be at the kitchen sink. If I'm doing dishes, I'll just hold on to the sink and I'll do maybe, you know, 25 squats. Just, you know, to feel good, because it makes me feel good to have exercise throughout the day.
No gym membership required.
You don't need it.
You don't need it. If you want to go to the gym, that's a great place to go. You and I both know, having been in different gyms, how exciting and invigorating the place could be. But it also can be very intimidating to people. And so no gym membership required. You can stand at your sink. You can do your calf raises. I've asked people or encouraged them, when they lift that gallon of milk out of the refrigerator, make sure the cap's tight.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mom. And then hoist it over their head a couple times.
Arnold.
And just to get different movement. Arnold
Schwarzenegger, yeah, with his gallons of water.
And so he was really very efficient in his movement, knew that each and every moment he could capture. And that's what made him so special in the bodybuilding field, because he was very committed to it. Now, we're not going to be Arnolds, and we're not going to be Wonder Womans, but we don't need to be.
No, we don't need to be.
The goal is to feel better about yourself. So, and this is not a new concept. I'm going to read a passage that comes out of the Big Book. The Big Book is the other name for Alcoholics Anonymous. And the first copyright of this book was 1937. And it begins with Bill's story. And people in recovery know Bill's story. And it's really his journey and his early attempts to quit drinking. And in one of those attempts, he went to a hospital, and in those days they were more like what they called a sanitarium. But and just to segue off of there, people really did recover back in those days, because they were taken away from their environment, and they were removed from all the stressors, where they stayed at this place for months or a month. And I think, well, wow, we need to get back to that. We call that a vacation, but for some people it was called going to the sanitarium for our sanity. Now, it seems to have a very negative consequence or connotation to it. However, the thought was really smart. We need to get away from those stressors so that we can resume our normalcy. Anyway, he wrote, and this is page 7 of Bill's story, that when he went to this particular hospital, that he was treated, among other things, with hydrotherapy and mild exercise, which helped me much. And so in the early beginnings of AAs, there was this notion of, or this reference to, exercise and how important that was in Bill's recovery. Now, unfortunately, he didn't stay recovered at that time and relapsed. And as he ventured through, he also found then additional treatments, and most particularly religion, that allowed him then to connect with what they refer to as a higher power. And so for the writer of AAs and some of the early beginnings of recovery, there is this need to tap into the higher power, and there is this need to express ourselves, and exercise is a key way of expressing ourselves. Strength training, aerobic exercise helps decrease the symptoms of depression. And for those recovering from alcohol or drug abuse, they found that people reported more energy, less symptoms, and less craving.
Well, I totally, I can see that within myself, with the exercise. Like I said, I started lifting because I quit smoking, but it also helps me curb my appetite. If I'm just looking for something to do, it might be munching. So instead of munching, I could be crunching.
Is that one of your taglines? Hashtag
it
crunching.
Is now, yeah, crunching.
Hashtag. Didn't that used to be called the pound sign?
I don't understand hashtag because I don't do that, but...
When I think of hashtag, I think of a potato pancake, some kind of hash.
Yeah.
But
I think of tic-tac-toe. I don't know. So...
Maybe we're dating ourselves again.
That's okay, though. It's okay to get older. That's what people are finding they're having a hard time with getting older. It's okay to get older. We all get older, and we don't have to look like we did when we're 20. And that's the thing that I think people get in trouble with. They end up being plastic because they're trying so hard to look a certain way. But if you could just wake up tomorrow and just accept yourself. I don't believe in that a new year, a new you. I don't like that at all. I don't want a new you. I think you're fine, the way you are. You're Paul. I'm Susie, and we can improve on ourselves. But I can't be Susie Roberti. There's no way. She's a blonde. But, you just can't be someone else. You have to learn, and I think sometime, like you said, it is the higher power that you tap into that lets you know that you are unique, you're a special person, but you need to exercise too. And it's your brain and your body are not separate.
Not at all.
They're together.
And so the more that we can be together on that, and I'll leave you with this last note, that empowerment is really that sense of taking charge of your life. We don't have any control over life, and so I really caution people not to try to have control over life, but you have choice. And choice is really, I think, our greatest gift. We have the power to choose. And so I've encouraged people, and I will continue to encourage people, to seek out folks that know about recovery, that know about exercise, that know about nutrition, and begin to make choices. And immediately when people choose, they start to feel very positive. Hey, yeah, I decided that. Today's the day.
I'm in control.
I'm in charge in a way.
Well, not in control.
Not in control or charge.
Yeah.
But, well, we've made that choice.
A choice.
And we've made the choice to feel better. And so for anybody, again, who's suffering from addiction or they need more information, they're free to call me at my office. We've published that number before. If you want me to give it again, I can.
Sure, give it again. And because if any of you guys out there, you have an addiction going on, it might be cigarettes, it might be food, you may be addicted to just sitting on the couch. Give Paul a call. He can lead you to someone or give you information that could get you moving again into a healthy space.
724-747-9408. 724-747-9408. And so I'm there and I'm available even if you just want to talk. I'm not looking for clients per se. I'm very busy already. I just want to be there to help facilitate.
I really appreciate this. We're all volunteers here at BPTV. Paul has volunteered to come in today again, and it's so nice to have a professional person in here with, your insight and all of your experience with, addictions and also with exercise. So I appreciate you being on the show today, Paul.
I love it, and thank you so much. Thank you for all your work, and thanks for having me again.
Thank you. Thank you. And thanks for joining us today. And I hope that you give Paul a call if you're having, just any questions at all. It would be fine to call him. But keep moving. And I want you to just do your cardio most days of the week. Take a walk for a half hour. Do a little bit of weightlifting. And take the challenge. Commit to be fit.